My guest today is Jay Lai, a voice actor and my new friend. We're talking about vocal health, home studios, and the value of community and relationships in the voice acting sphere. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Tell me who you are and how you got involved in voice acting.
Hi, my name is Jay Lai, and I am a voice actor. I've been voice acting for about 4 years now professionally, I would say. And how I got into it, I was a theater kid, like since middle school, and I fell in love with the art of acting. 7 years old, I would be able to quote verbatim the Kung Fu Panda movie because I saw it like so many times. I'd ask my mom, like, "Mom, can we go see it?" And then I, even though she just saw the movie with me, I would do a play-by-play back and forth again of what it was. A lot of my, family members were like, "Oh, you should do like, maybe look into acting," or like, "He's an actor." I'm like, "What's that?" And then I did some theater back then, but also like with school and everything, it was classes first and then the arts second. So I didn't get to do a whole lot of theater, although I liked it a lot. There was a high school assignment that I did basically where we take a scene, replace it with our voices and like the Foley and everything. I was like, yo, I can do all this in a closet. And I just started going at it. From there, just started diving into it professionally, and I'm really, really lucky to have gotten all like the opportunities and everything and people I've met over these years. So
When you first started, what kind of projects were you doing and what did your setup look like?
for my setup, I was living with my family at the time. I wanted to get like into like the biggest closet I could, but unfortunately that was not my closet. That was like my parents. So then I had to go into my closet, which was not even a walk-in. It was just a jacket closet, clothes closet. And so I took out all the jackets and everything. I took a comforter and just thumbtacked it as many times as I could to the wall. I'm like, this is good enough, right? I originally did use a Blue Yeti microphone, a good starter-ish mic, if you want to like just delve into it and like try it out. I was lucky that my friend, he just gave it to me. He was just like, yeah, I got a better one, so you can have this now so you don't sound like crap whenever we game anymore. Offense, but also thank you. So I took that, used that. Eventually I upgraded to a Rode because I discovered, hey, I actually do like voice acting a lot, and people were saying you should invest into an XLR microphone. It's, a lot better in the long run. I'm like, cool. So I got a bundle from like Sweetwater, and it was a like Rode with a Focusrite interface, which I'm actually using right now for my setup outside the booth. The other one I have like an SSL2. I bought a microphone stand, thumbtacked blankets, and from there it sounded okay. It sounded pretty okay. I would say the projects that I did back then, I was just kind of delving into. It was like when COVID first was strong, like really strong. And so everyone was like quarantining and everything. And everyone's like, oh, let's do comic dubs, voiceover, some video games that we do. And I've met a lot of friends throughout the VA community because of that. We voiced things like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, little fan comic dubs that people would draw. Those were like some of the projects that I did, and I look at them very fondly because just a bunch of my friends and I having fun, learning our way, coasting through what we could do in this space and how far we could go.
How is that different from what you're doing now, your setup and the projects you're doing?
When I moved to Texas, the house that I'm currently in, I was in a closet again. It was an upgrade in terms of sound quality because my clothes closet back in my other place, it was very boxy sounding. But here, it sounded fine. Like, a lot of sound dampening, reverb wasn't that bad. But when it was wintertime, it felt nice. It was cold. I could be in there for hours if I wanted to. Anything else, other months outside of December in Texas, super hot. I had to like escape out. Yeah, it gets like 100 degrees sometimes in there. It was not fun. I still had the microphone at the time. I do now have two microphones. One of them is a Neumann U87 and the other one is a Sennheiser MKH416. I believe that's the right numbers. Mostly I got them pretty good deals off like secondhand market, which very much it saves you in the long run a lot of money. With that closet though, it's above the AC unit. So whenever that goes, you can hear a humming in the background. I'm just very lucky that my mentor, she was like, your audition sounds nice, but there's like this hum in the background. I'm like, there is? And she's like, yeah, just like listen to it. You can hear it. And I'm like, that wasn't there before that I knew of. Secondhand again, I got a booth now right over here. It's a whisper room. A lot of stuff that I've gotten so far has been very nice in the investment process because it has saved me like a lot of technical problems in the long run. For types of projects I'm doing now, we've jumped from doing fan comics about anime to going to anime and a bunch of cool indie animations and everything. So that's been very fun. A very different experience too, because Now I'm actually working with directors, people live giving me feedback, and us like playing and then adjusting what we can do to make a scene more proper, more to life, make it more fun, instead of you self-direct yourself. You send the lines, and then whoever just sends you like feedback like 9 hours later, and hey, can we try this? And then you record like maybe, I don't know, 4 hours or whatever you can, and then you send it back. It's like kind of like a game of telephone. We've upgraded from there, and it's been fun. It's been very, very fun.
What are some of the favorite projects or characters that you've done?
One of my favorite characters that I've done in indie animation that I've done called Ram Skewer, created by Katie Choi, Kimchi Cubed on Instagram, how she goes by. It's a short indie film. It's about like this goat ram chef named Chive, and he loves cooking. He's like, I'm gonna be the best cook ever. Then it kind of goes into like a horror kind of thing because they keep getting custom orders and all of it's for lamb. And then he just kind of starts having like this breakdown like, oh my gosh, I'm cooking my own people. I go from like the transition in Tokyo Ghoul of Kaneki, he was more innocent, I guess, compared to his later iteration when he gets like the white hair. And, you know, just going from like, I was like, I'm going to be the best chef in the world to your head will be on a silver platter. Just the transition was very fun, and I love playing a character arc. Like that's kind of drastically different from another character. Another fun role, it's in a Chinese animation movie called The Legend of Hei 2. I voice this character named Luo, and it was one of my first remote dubbing sessions because I was like, dang, you know, I invest all this into like gear, to internet connection and everything. If I do have to do dubbing remotely, and, you know, it was the first time I ever got to do that. First time I ever got to work with a studio called NYAV. It was a lot of fun. The character, he doesn't get to say a whole bunch, but he does come off as like very nervous and like wants to be professional, but also respectful at the same time. Casting director, she just found that vibe within me from another audition. And I was like, okay, cool, I can play this and this is fun. The hype is still kind of fresh in my mind because I'm like, I can do it. I can announce it now. I can say it. It's been months.
So you mentioned your mentor and mentorship a couple times. Would you consider that like private coaching, or is it a little bit different than that?
It's a little bit of both. So I have two mentors actually. One of them is named Jennifer Sunbell, and the other one is named Courtney Lin. They have this little online course for voiceover called the School of VO, and it's to help voice actors, whether they're further into their journeys or whether they're just starting out, to kind of help teach them about like the different avenues of voice acting, the business side of it. And we also every like month we do like a monthly workout just to keep our skills freshened. It's been really nice because I don't think I would have made it that far without them. I met Jen actually through because I booked an audiobook before and we were co-narrators. I never met her before, never heard of her, but I looked her up. I'm like, dang. Then audiobook guys were like, hey, you can message each other in case there's like different pronunciations or something for the characters that you need. I've heard audiobooks before, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing them correctly. So I messaged her asking like, hey, does this sound okay for how I'm approach this before I like go in and record all the chapters? And she listened to it, and oh my gosh, she was super, super nice. I thought she was going to be like, oh, you know, like, I don't have a lot of time, you know, like whatever, it sounds okay. But she's like, yeah, sounds okay. I think we can tweak it just a little bit just to make it flow a bit better. If you like, we can get into like a Zoom call. I'm like, oh my gosh, she didn't need to do all that, but she's doing it anyways. We talked and we vibed really well. And every time I had like voice acting like questions, you know, I would message her. And then eventually, like a year or two later, she said that she was opening up like the school with Courtney Lin. I'm like, oh, cool. I would love to be a part of that. And yeah, I gotten pretty far with them as my teachers.
What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned over the years with voice acting?
Speaking of audiobooks, anyone who's going into that and just starting out with voice acting, make sure to learn the proper techniques of vocal health. And also don't push yourself so hard, because back then for my second and third audiobooks, I was supposed to record this RPG literature series called Seared. It was a super long book, like 35 chapters. I just recorded the first book with Jen, and I was like, it was okay. Like, you know, I can do another one. And this one, the one was solo. And if you listen to me, like throughout the first, like, I don't know, 10 chapters or so, sounds kind of fine. But I didn't know or take into account vocal health all too much. So as I got further, my voice started kind of dying, kind of not sounding consistent, the same. But I think that's a few things that people who jump into VA and they don't take into account that first. And then, you know, they might get into a situation like me where I push myself really hard to keep going with the everyday recording for it and not resting properly. And then almost like shooting out my voice. Like I almost had like a permanent problem. And then sometimes there are people out there who aren't as lucky and they actually do have like a permanent vocal damage to their vocal cords in their life and they can't take that back. So I think as newer VAs, people getting into it, and also just if you're already in the scene and you've made it this far without taking into account vocal health, do that. Your voice is your instrument. It's what makes you you. And also, I think it's nice to be able to talk to people, daily conversation, not just also do business stuff.
What strategies do you actually use to protect or recover from recording sessions?
Some vocal warm-ups. Very much like best to either go to a vocal coach and kind of learn what your limits and capabilities are in that regard. Or if you can't really afford it at the time, which I understand, that's kind of me, you look up some singing exercises online and just making sure that you get your reps, going, ah, and those octaves, the waves. Someone put it best when I learned it from them that your vocal cords are like a muscle. And it's kind of like exercising, you do like the huge weights or something, and you're feeling very sore the next day. It's the same with vocal cords. If you've never screamed before in your life, but you go into it, maybe it might sound good in the moment, might not feel good later on. And your muscle then is kind of sore and possibly damaged if you push yourself too hard.
Where do you find auditions, information about new projects?
I look up on social media like Instagram, Twitter, casting calls, and there are a lot of like indie people out there who have like their casting calls for their projects, so that's really good. If you have Discord, there is the voice acting community Discord server. That's also a great resource. I've gotten a few projects that I've managed to audition for and also book through there. Also searching up talent rosters. Just look up talent rosters on the internet. Vet them, make sure they're legit first, and then sign up. There's a list by Sam Slade and Marcus Rothenberg. Very helpful resource when it comes to like finding like talent rosters and different agencies and everything for newer VAs and just current VAs too. They label what they are, what they specialize in, and also like what details about them are and what they require. So it's very organized, very helpful, and I've used it a lot. Finding every resource as you can, that's a great way to find auditions and projects that you can look for. I would say also networking as well, or connecting with people. Sometimes there are people posting about like their projects, an artist or a indie developer, and saying, hey, this is my new project, this game, so-and-so. Maybe they don't need a person or a voice actor right now, but you can just be like, hey, introduce yourself, and my name's Jay Lai, I'm a voice actor, I do this and that and that. If you ever need a voice actor, I would love to work with you someday. Making yourself known to them a bit. So I would say that's also some solid advice, some stuff I've been doing lately.
What are some of the main things that you use to brand and connect with people?
I have a website. I have a character and a commercial demo right now. I'm working towards an interactive one. Those two I would say are probably one of like the good beginner long-term ones to invest into. Maybe commercial just a little bit more, because when you apply to agencies and everything, they favor commercials a bit more. That's the main bread and butter for them. When I try to make myself known online, basically just be kind to people, because I've seen some people online where they got kind of an ego and everything, and they're like, oh, I'm so much better, I got this one role, and I'm like, okay, I mean, congratulations to you, that's great, you deserve to be proud of yourself for that. But also at the end of the day, we're all not better than one another. And I think if we're very supportive and being very kind to one another in this field, in this already very competitive field, then that just kind of like lightens the mood a bit. So I try to come off as that when it comes to my branding.
What are your short-term goals with voice acting?
Have fun. Using voiceover as kind of like a way to express myself, to have fun in both the audition that I get now and maybe in the role that I get in the future. I think having fun in the moment and long term, I think that just really helps my goals. It also helps mental health as well, because if you're not happy, then it's no really reason to kind of pursue something, If you have a community and you have people who kind of get what you're doing and understanding, the struggles, the wins, and being able to talk about that with people, it helps a lot. I think some people underestimate community, because without my friends, my people that I've managed to forge a bond with over this craft that we love over the years, I don't think I would have kept pursuing it, because I would have just been, isolated, would have been like, just keep doing this and thinking, what am I doing? But with people to talk about, I'm like, hey, I did this, or, oh man, dude, I almost busted a vocal cord trying to scream. And then, us kind of bonding and having fun over that. I think that really helps in that regard.
What is your advice for other voice actors?
Find people that you can get along with, because a lot of people on here are also very friendly. We're nerds. We love to talk about the craft we love. But also, if you haven't, take some classes, I would say. One, also, it's a good way to establish community because you're meeting a bunch of people who have the same interests as you, but also learning about your voice and your acting ability and how far you can take it. Back then, when I first started, I thought, oh man, this is how far I'm able to go with my voice and my range and acting ability. And then, years later, it's like, man, 4 years ago, Jay was an idiot. It's not that at all. Like each year you improve. You just kind of need to be able to see that change and kind of realize it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.